Hey everybody, it's Ryan. Welcome back to How Farms Work. Today, I've got the goods. So if you guys will remember, I bought a CID 84-inch Xtreme brush mower on Hennessy's auction in Dodgeville. And this is a relatively new mower. It's a 2019, and it seems like it was pretty much just used and then sold, which was my original intention. But if I use this for what I intend to, I don't know if I'm gonna end up selling this thing in the end or not. As long as it quits leaking, which is what this thing is for. So I got a hold of the company because I couldn't figure out why the motor is leaking like a sieve, metaphorically. But that's really no way to run the mower, so I couldn't run it as is. I ran out of options, called them up and said, hey, I got this leaking hole on this flange below the hydraulic motor. And they said that it's a weeping hole. So he said there's two options. He said that we could try to plug it ourselves, tap it out, put a plug in it, which Travis and I actually tried. And that flange was so hard that we couldn't get a tap run through it. Travis tried taking a drill bit to it to widen it out so we could fit a larger tap in it. And it actually broke off the bit, and part of it hit him in the face, and then the other part of it literally instantaneously went up into the corner of the shed and hit the tin. So we're like, yeah, we're just gonna wait for the new one to come in, which it has come in. So here we're looking at the new flange for the mower, and there's the plugged weeping hole. It's literally all it is. So the guy at CID told me that the engineers approved plugging the hole, saying that it really shouldn't affect the warranty status on the mower at all. It shouldn't hurt the mower. We're gonna try to take that motor off. The flange sits right here, and we've got a couple bolts around it. We're gonna try to take those out, lift the motor off, put the new flange on gasket here. I'm not totally sure where that goes yet, but I would assume it goes on around there. Let's take the wrenches of this and try to get it off. Hashtag surprisingly loose. Okay, that was like almost too easy. Maybe I spoke too soon though, because I've still got a couple other ones to take off. Now, they're screwing pretty easily out by hand. I got the back three off. That's the last one. All right. All the nuts are now off. So in theory, this should lift right off of here. In theory. Could it really be that simple? Oh, that's just loose on there. I gotta tighten that down. I want to keep this semi-clean. Alright. Interesting. Oh, so that's the piece that I gotta take off yet. Okay. As you can pretty obviously tell, there is oil in there. I'm gonna put a bucket over that for now, just to keep any debris from falling into it while I have a closer look at the motor here. So this is the piece that I need to get off. And it looks like it's pretty much stuck on there with silicone on the bottom and top. Now we could be wrong, but we're pretty sure that's not supposed to be on there. So we're taking that out. Looks like the plastic covering that they shipped the motor with. Is that what you mean by everything you learn at school is out the window?
No, actually, talking about.
So we thinks that that little plastic piece that was left on that shaft probably messed up the seal, which could have been contributing to this flange leaking as a whole. So there's that weeping hole right there. We're still going to put the new one on. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do as far as siliconing, because they used a butt ton of silicone on both sides of this thing. And you can see it there even. So magic. I just got all the hoses back on the motor. Hopefully it doesn't leak. I got that new flange put on. We're about to fire it up and find out. Doesn't seem to be leaking. Looks pretty good to me. If it doesn't leak at all, I'm probably gonna take it out and try to do a little bit of work with it just to make sure that it really isn't gonna leak. And then I can put that guard back on that's supposed to go over the motor. I think we've got ourselves a pretty good skid mower. Nothing like a little test just to be sure. I feel like I'm gonna have a love-hate relationship with this mower. Tree? What tree? That's about as good as I can do on that one. Otherwise I'm gonna be grinding it down into the stake. Well, Mom, there you go. I trimmed back the bushes like you asked. To me, that's scary. So don't mind the lack of beard. You guys are going to find out in the next video what happened. Anyway, we're out here in the JCB at my place. We got the skid mower on the front. So we come to find out, after we had taken that flange and the motor off, we took it over to the bench. We started looking at it closer, and we realized that the shaft cover on the hydraulic motor was still on. So what happened was that shaft cover was rubbing on that seal, and it degraded the seal where it was leaking. And it looks to me like someone had tried fixing it before. I don't know whether this motor had a case drain on it prior. So what the case drain is supposed to do is supposed to relieve any pressure that's inside the motor to keep it from leaking. And it seems to me like the person who had it before me didn't know what was going on. I think that case drain hose was added after the fact. And when I bought this thing, I mean, it wasn't leaking at all. There was no oil in it at all. It was like a brand new hose. So I think they added that after the fact, and it kept leaking, and they just kind of said, you know what, I'm just going to sell this on auction. I'm sick of it. But what actually happened was the shaft cover degraded that seal, and it looks to me like they took the whole motor part and everything, and they didn't realize that that shaft cover was still on there, or they didn't know if it belonged on there or not. And they used silicone to seal everything up to try to keep it from leaking, and you guys can see how well that worked. So now we're out at my place. I haven't had a good chance to really use this thing this year. Now isn't typically the best time to be mowing stuff down, all this brush and stuff, because at this point in the year, winter's starting to come around. All of the carbohydrates in the plant are starting to be sent back down to the roots, and that way the plants will be able to bring those nutrients up next year, all that energy, and use that for growth. Typically when you do mowing like this, you want to do it in the spring because it will kill the plants more than anything. Right now, if I go through and mow, it's really just kind of knocking back the brush, which isn't exactly a bad thing. I mean, it's kind of resetting the clock on the brush that we have out here, especially since for the lack of time that I've had to do pasture cleaning. I did a little bit at the beginning of the summer, but as hay season picked up, I just didn't have time for it. So this is what I really wanted when I was clearing out the pasture back here. You guys might remember that. If you haven't seen it, go back and check that video out now. I did a couple time lapses of trying to of trying to clear out pasture, and this is what I had really wanted at the time because I knew it would do the job. I'm gonna use this thing for as much as I can get this year when I can get out there and do it. So I have an hour of free time right now before I gotta be somewhere else. So I'm gonna take the JCB down, and I know there's places that I can mow with this all over. So we're just gonna go find one of those places and try this thing out. Oh yeah. Well, my hour is up. I'm gonna head back to the buildings and call her a day. I just widened out the path going down the hill by about 40 feet. So that's enough for today. My time's up. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. At least we got the mower all figured out, and it should be a pretty good unit. I am looking for a forestry shield on the front of the JCB because this thing does get a lot of kickback. So if you're ever using one of these things, my advice for you is to just be very careful with them, because like I said, they do kick back. I haven't had anything come back at me because I'm being very careful in the way that I'm using it. I'm always making sure that the front is pointed up and the back's pointed down so that any debris that comes back just gets sent into the ground instead of the glass in the unit. So I just want to stop and give a quick shout out mention to one of our longtime viewers who recently passed away, Matthew Hogue. I just recently heard from Travis. He actually looked him up on Facebook, and I guess he passed away. Matthew was one of our biggest fans. He did a lot for us. He inspired me to, he always gave me positive comments down in the comments section, and his comments were about as reliable as Darren saying, "Hey Ryan." So I just want to say thanks, Matt, for following for so long. You'll be missed. You came to the farm day. Matt also gave us the couple tools, a couple of our DeWalt drills He gave me at least one that I use every day, plus one or two that we have over at the farm. And just want to say, give him a shout out, I guess, because he always followed along. And as you do YouTube, you tend to make friends. And Matthew was always right there, you know, talking, or he was our moderator, so he'd watch out for bad comments or anything like that. And, you know, just try to keep everything friendly for us. So I want to say thanks again. With that, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out all of our other videos. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, all How Farms Work. And with that, I'll see you next time.